Oh boy. Man, is it a rough day for the furry fandom. So basically, just jumping right on into the deep end. One of the biggest, if not the biggest current maker, MulticolorBark, has been called out for mishandling about $64,000 from their customers. And the whole situation is just wild. I mean, again, this maker has been seen as like one of the top tier makers for a long time now, and to just suddenly see this news of them taking so much money from people is wild. So today I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to explain the situation that's happening, talk about the different opinions about it, because there's definitely opinions to be had. There's definitely things I want to say on the topic, and I also want to hear what all of you have to say about it as well. So throughout this video, be sure to comment down below your thoughts. I really want to hear what everybody has to say. And as always, if you can, leave a like on the video. It helps the channel out a bunch and I appreciate it. Also subscribe while you're at it. But yeah, let's just go ahead and get into it. Okay, so quick update before we get into the video. I already had recorded the rest of this video, but MulticolorBark just put out an update. They said this: the decision has been made to cancel refunds and add everyone back to the queue. This has been a difficult learning experience for me and I wholeheartedly apologize for my mistakes. I just want to do the right thing, which is definitely a good thing. It's better than what was said previously, but I still wanted to upload my main video to document what happened before all of this, because as it stands right now, the makers still don't have their suits. So until they actually get their suits, I mean, people should be aware of what happened before. Not only that, there's a lot of important topics overall to discuss, like makers experiencing burnout, bad business practices among fursuit makers and customers, stuff like that. But again, keep this update in mind while watching the rest of the video. So back to it. But yes, jumping on into it first with the overview of what just happened in like the past 24 hours. So again, MulticolorBark, a fursuit maker that has been around for a super long time. In fact, this says they joined all the way back in 2012. However, we'll also talk about how I believe they went by a different name early on. Again, we'll probably circle around back to that in a little bit, but they're known for their suits that are admittedly super high quality. Like, again, they are top tier. I'm sure you've seen a ton of the suits themselves that are just beautiful. They're absolutely magnificent suits. However, an awesome creator by the name of Puppy in Bleu, you may have seen their TikToks and stuff. They make incredible TikToks. They put out a tweet saying, trying to get in contact with the other two people ripped off by MCB. DM me, we are taking legal action. And then they posted a screenshot that I can't see the full message, but it starts off saying, probably not what you are looking for, but if you ever like one of my pre-mades and decide to bid on it, I will discount the amount you have already paid me from the final bid. That way you would be getting the partial right away with the money you have already paid and won't have to wait for that portion of the refund. Oh boy, that is crazy. Because to be specific, Puppy in Blue paid $16K for what I believe was a full suit commission. That's right, $16,000 before any work was even started. And now the person behind MulticolorBark is trying to turn around and say that, hey, I can't give you your money back. Or you can bid on a partial, not even a full suit, a partial, and use the money you put down as a discount. Absolutely wild. I don't think I even have to explain why that is just insane. But yeah, they go on to say, trust me, I wish I didn't have to do this. And then Puppy in Blue responds, there's no way to guarantee that I'll have a spot since I have one now, because I doubt I'll be able to secure a spot down the road. And I wouldn't want a partial for the $16K I paid for a full suit. They then go on to reply, if I take commissions in the future, everyone who I am refunding would get first dibs, which is a little bit confusing because from what has been said online, there was no real set in stone plan to refund people at this time. Hence why Puppy in Blue was planning to take legal action, which, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I think they have every right to. $16K is not a small amount of money, especially when you add it to the other people, which so far I think totals to around $64K, because Puppy in Blue is not the only person. A friend of mine, Rolo, said that her BF has been waiting 1.5 years with no contacts and pre-mades being bumped ahead of him, which is fine, just no heads up. Then yesterday he received this exact message, $16K paid via wire. So now that MulticolorBark was called out, what do they have to say about the situation? Oh man, get prepared. First of all, they start out by saying, this is really not the internet's business, but to be completely transparent, here is what I sent my customers privately. The names have been blacked out for privacy reasons. And before we even get into this big wall of text here, I think that first sentence is absurd. Saying this is really not the internet's business, I mean, it is. You're a company that gets their commissions from the internet, or in the past got their commissions. They aren't currently accepting commissions, and I don't believe they have been for a while. But unless Puppy in Blue had made that post publicly, I don't think they would have really done anything. But regardless, let's go on to try and break down here what they said in response. The first thing that I think is important is that they say, as some of you may know, a lot of suit makers, me included, used to take on many commissions at a time and have these big queues. I think at one point I had 20 or more people on my queue. Being only one person with a huge workload, life would get in the way and I would start to fall behind. Some of the money people paid me would get used on bills, life, etc. before the suit was fully finished. There were a few medical emergencies as well as just overall poor budget management as an unexperienced maker. Now again, I see this trend pop up a lot. Suit makers get in this cycle where they take money for these suits ahead of time, and before even completing the commission, they've fully spent it. Now again, we really just have to trust their word that this money was spent on things like bills and food and medical expenses. We don't know for sure if that's true or not. I mean, we can be skeptical considering that $64,000 is a lot of money, and that's just for 4 commissions. Let's make that very clear. 4 commissions equaled 64K. That's a lot of money for only 4 fursuit commissions. Like, that would mean they'd only have to complete 1 commission every 3 months to earn that $64,000, which is pretty much around the average yearly income in the US. And that's not even including potential other commissions they may have taken and pre-mades. So again, I'm skeptical. They go on to say, as a result, I would run out of money and I would take on more commissions so I could afford to live while working through my queue. This became a cycle that would continue to dig me into a deeper hole of debt. And I also want to circle around back to that because MulticolorBark suits, they charge around twice as much as what I see a lot of other fursuit makers charge. Which again, just makes me question, how are they not able to pay back the people they owe? Like, you may have even seen recently, I posted a video about one of their partials selling it for a bid of around $22,000 for a partial, not even a full suit. So like, where does that 22K go? That's no small amount of money. That's a lot of money. How does so much of this cash just vanish? Either way, they go on to say, unfortunately, it has had severe lasting effects on me in the sense of burnout. You have all heard me talk about burnout as it has been a reason for most delays. Once I burned out for the first time, I grew concerned but just pushed through as it was necessary and important to keep the work flowing. After pushing through and getting a few suits made, I would be a little more burnt out than the last time. The cycle continued with burnout getting worse and worse. Eventually, I started taking breaks in between suits because I began to experience a sort of wall or blockade where I just couldn't get myself to work at all. So a couple of weeks would go by and then I would force myself to work again. The breaks would get longer and less work would get done in between. Long story short, I've burned myself out so many times that it's become absolutely crippling. No matter how long I give myself a break, I don't feel any more ready, recharged, or capable of picking work back up. And again, this topic of burnout is big, which is, you know, a very charged topic too, because a lot of people, like, yeah, I of course feel sympathy for somebody experiencing burnout, but when it's at the cost of other people's money, I personally have a lot less sympathy for it. You took on this money with the promise of delivering a commission. I don't think you deserve to use the excuse of you're just burnt out to then not work on their commission. Like, let's be honest, maybe hundreds of millions of people work jobs that are difficult. You don't think tons of people are working jobs that they would like to just take a break from? But the unfortunate truth is that people have to work to survive. And in this case, I just don't see why you should be able to take a break when people that have also worked incredibly hard paid you money for something and then their money can't be refunded either. And I'll be completely honest, it makes me mad to hear people say this. So many other people don't get to use that excuse. I want to go back to a tweet that Puppy and Bleu made. They said, I work really hard as a nurse. It's 30 to 40 hours in 3 days with usually only 5 to 6 hours of sleep in between shifts. My body is ruined and my mind is close behind. And honestly, this slot that I worked for 12 years was keeping me going. Getting scammed hurts. And again, I think that's like the perfect summation. Why is it okay for your customers to work hard to earn the money that they then pay you ahead of time before any work is actually done, and then you can claim burnout? It just isn't fair to me. Not at all. Then going back to what MulticolorBark says in the second slide, they say, not only has this crippled my suit making ability, it has caused me a great deal of anxiety, stress, and depression for many years now. After consulting with loved ones and those close to me, as well as the advice of other makers, I believe this is the road I need to go down to have any chance of healing. Which that last part of that sentence really confuses me. I believe this is the road I need to go down now to have any chance of healing. Like, again, I feel like this is just trying to garner sympathy when at the end of the day, you took people's money and didn't give them anything in return. You didn't return their money. You took 16,000 from each of them. I don't know if there's more people or if there's different amounts. Again, that's just from what we've seen, but I don't know. I obviously feel bad for makers in burnout, but you are an adult that is running a business. You have a responsibility to the people that are paying you to get them their stuff. I feel like I've said that a few times now, but that's the hard truth. But let's go on to see what their current plans, and I don't even know if it's really plans, to refund their customers says. As stated earlier, I unfortunately no longer have the funds to send refunds immediately. It's the thing I carry the most shame for. That being said, refunds will take some time to get back to you, but they will get back to you in full. I can promise you that. Which at first sounds good, but we've heard this before from makers. Until it actually happens, it's just fluff, honestly. Communication will be very clear and consistent about when I will expect to have payments going out to people. The plan is to sell pre-mades, personal items, art, and any other way I can make money that I see achievable. My last intention is to leave any of you in the dark wondering when you will be getting your money back. I'm very sorry for this difficult situation I have put you all in. I really appreciate your interest in my work and it breaks my heart to have to cancel on you. Yada yada. That sounds good, and hopefully that is true, that they're going to work hard on giving the money back, but we will have to wait and see. I've also seen some other people bring up the idea of like taking out a loan to pay people back so that the responsibility of the money being up in the air isn't on the customers, but instead on MulticolorBark, which to me makes a lot of sense. Because something else I want to say too is that these people's money, yeah, you've lost the, dollar amount straightforward of 16K, but you've also wasted their time significantly. Going back to Rolo's boyfriend, she said he's been waiting 1.5 years. And I don't know if the other customers have been waiting longer or less, but depending on how long this time frame takes to get the money paid back, it could be a month, it could be a year, it could be multiple years. We don't really know. And again, the customers have to suffer that. Their time has been wasted. They could have spent that money on a different maker and maybe even had their suit by now. Probably not had to deal with this stress of all of this happening, not having to worry if they're ever going to get their money back or if this is just going to be gone. Oh boy, man, is it a lot. But that leads me into another thing I want to talk about with this, which is just the current state of like fursuit commissions and practices when it comes to fursuits. Like, I've been racking my brain about it and I can't really think of any other business where customers are expected to pay either half of the commission up front, or in this case, the full price up front, and actually years before any work is actually started. Like, not only is that just, a really weird business practice that doesn't make any sense, it almost always takes away the customer's ability to use any means of getting their money back. Like, for example, a chargeback with their bank or PayPal's buyer protection, which I believe only lasts 180 days. Taking this money so far ahead of time removes all of that buyer protection that they have, which again, we see with a lot of makers, and we see this process repeat time and time again. And again, at the end of the day, this is a business. You need to be professional about it. You need to not take on commissions unless you have the ability to refund that commission. I do truly think that, and I know that's difficult to set up, but it's really the way that it should be done, I think, to avoid situations like this happening. You shouldn't be spending commissioners' money before any work is actually begun, because it leads to situations like this. Now, I could see maybe accepting a deposit of like $100, $200, maybe $300 to just reserve the slot, and then of course that money would be used towards the commission price, but that's a lot more reasonable to figure out if a refund needs to be made. And then when it's time for the commission to start, they can either pay maybe half up front as it started and the other half once it's completed. But I guess that's an ideal world, right? But yeah, that is the current situation with MulticolorBark. What do you all think? It's a doozy, so I do want to hear what you all have to say. Leave a comment down below. There's definitely a lot to talk about, so please let me know your thoughts. Either way, yeah, this is a rough situation. I don't even know what else to say about that, but I think I got my thoughts out in a good way. So yeah, I hope you all have a good day or a good night. I will see you next time.